All right, this is a fight that I have had circled for the last few weeks. It's not because of Eddie Perlaza who's coming to the cage. Nothing against Eddie Perlaza, and Eddie is 1-0 in his career so far, and I am sure that Eddie is an accomplished amateur tactician. That's not why I had it circled. And we take a look at Eddie. He looks like he's in great shape. It's because of the man that he's fighting in Brody Joseph, who we had a chance to talk to, and you take a look at in our Carbon World Health Tale of the Tape.
She say, do you love me? I tell her only partly. I only love my bed.
Next up, welcome his opponent, Brody Joseph.
Loud ovation here from the local crowd for the local boy, Brody Joseph. And one of the cool things about this fighter, he is making his cage debut here in MMA. This is not a combat sport debut for Brody Joseph, who even fought over in Thailand and was fighting Muay Thai over there. I asked him if he had any jitters. Not only does he not have jitters going into this fight tonight, Brody Joseph seems very confident. Hopefully it's not to the point of overconfidence, because I'd like to see this kid win. He definitely seems like he is ready for the moment. It is a packed house here tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is brought to you by Carbon World Health and scheduled for 3 rounds in the amateur featherweight division. Introducing first, this man fighting out of the Harley-Davidson of Madison blue corner. He hails from South Florida and represents Pettis Martial Arts. Undefeated, 1 bout, 1 victory, 1 knockout. He stands in at 5'10" tall. He weighed in at 145 ready pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie, the Showtime prodigy, Perlaza. His opponent, this man, fighting out of the Coliseum Bar, red corner. He stands in at 6 feet tall, weighing in at 144 1/2 pounds. He represents the Chosen Few Gym and hails from Waunakee, Wisconsin, Brody the Bandit Joseph.
Wow, that is an ovation from a sellout crowd, usually reserved for a main event fight. They are that jacked up about one Brody Joseph, and why not? I got a chance to talk with him a couple of weeks ago on the sports news. I tell you what, this kid is very confident and has a combat sports background, hasn't done the MMA thing, but a Muay Thai fighter who's fought in Thailand. A lot of people are very excited to see Brody Joseph fight tonight.
And he's fighting a guy with a great reputation, not only from Wisconsin, but around the world, who, at least one of his trainers, as far as Showtime Pettis. He calls himself the Showtime Prodigy, so obviously he's going to try and model his fighting style after Anthony Pettis. But, like you said, he's fighting a stand-up fighter as it is, so we'll see how this fights go. Talking to Josh Sterry earlier, this is the fight he was most excited about. He said these guys are going to stand up and brawl for 3 straight rounds.
He's on the edge of his seat, and why not? Good left there by Joseph. And look at these kicks. Maybe some of the best kicks we have seen up in this cage in a while, as Brody can really get that kick up in the air.
Now, the one thing you can tell about a Muay Thai or a kickboxer his first time in MMA is how slow the kick gets back to reset. Because what they're used to doing is throwing that kick up there, creating the form, getting the knee high, you know, making sure everything is correct. But what he's not doing is recoiling that foot as much. That'll leave you susceptible to takedowns, things like that as the fights go on.
Yeah,
again, it's his debut fight as an MMA fighter. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes, because he's fighting another stand-up guy who doesn't even look like he's looking at the hips for a takedown, so it might not matter.
Joseph with a combination there, goes for the knee, and of course, as you say, he's not looking for a takedown, he's trying for it. I tell you what, you're right way more often than you're off,
right.
So we're going with that.
You know, I think I just talked loud enough. Maybe he heard me. Who knows?
And it's probably what he needs to do against Joseph, because at distance, I think Brody was starting to size him up and getting those kicks zeroed in on him along with those left and right hands. So now we'll see how Joseph does in something that he's not too familiar with, and that's the grappling.
He looks good here, though. His hips are up against the cage. The Wizard looks great. I don't think he's in too much trouble at this point. Looking for the single leg and isn't getting it. Actually able to reverse him there, so I liked it. Takedown defense was pretty nice there. But going back to what I was saying, maybe a better time for Perlaza is to wait for one of those slow recoil kicks, because then there's nothing Joseph can do to not be taken down at that point.
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you change sports, it's a whole different set of skills. We kind of saw that in the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and we're going to see some of that from Joseph for a while until he is able to get more into MMA mode. Looking good, though, on his feet so far here in round number 1 against Perlaza.
And he's hunting for that left kick. You can see it. He'll do those little stutter steps forward with his right foot. So again, he's telegraphing it a bit, stuff that's going to get better as he has more experience in the MMA cage. But he knows how dangerous it's going to be if he actually lands it, so he's almost too excited to land it.
And he's been susceptible to a couple of right kicks there by Perlaza that scored here near the end of the round. So we're through round number 1. Lots of action here. We'll see what happens in round number 2. This is Chosen Few Fighting Championships number 13, and this is 57 Sports. Taking a look at the first round of the career of Brody Joseph, we saw some good kicking. We also saw some things that might lead you to some concern. Maybe you were talking about the recoil.
Yeah, if I'm in Perlaza's corner, I'm telling him to look for that takedown, especially on those long roundhouse-style kicks. And the reason being is because of the slow recoil. The arms are kind of half, at midsection there, so he's not going to be able to defend a takedown at that point. But we'll see. Again, being from the Pettis camp, does that mean that they're teaching him, let's be flashy, let's match stand-up for stand-up? Who knows? We'll see how that goes.
All right, here we go with the second round. I tell you what, the crowd is jacked up right now as a sellout crowd here at Monona Terrace on a beautiful winter's night here in Wisconsin, enjoying the show so far as lots of action-packed fights, maybe a controversial decision in the last one, lots of stuff to talk about afterwards, and we haven't even reached our main event of the night yet.
Yeah, I was apparently, according to the judges, way off. Each judge gave the second round of that fight to Labai, who ended up winning, which I thought was the only round that her opponent had won. So, yeah, I don't know. Judging is a little bit different than it used to be.
Yeah, that one seemed like an easy round to score. I was with you on that. The striking ability of Lippert seemed better. Judges didn't see it that way, and it's one of those things you never want to leave a fight to the judges, and that's why. Here in our second round right now, not even a hint of a takedown attempt by Perlaza, and Joseph seemingly comfortable right now. Will conditioning play a part in what's going on, Chris?
Even though they're both active strike-wise, they haven't done as much, I guess you would say, to create fatigue in the ring as far as the takedown defense. Well, right here. This is the sort of stuff that really drains you as a fighter, unless you're taking a lot of shots to the midsection. So I think they're both pretty fresh. I think they both can stay fresh. This sort of stuff will really kind of separate the fighters, and you can actually see that Joseph is a little bit bigger of a fighter. If he's, with a Muay Thai background, this is actually going to be where he can use his knees. Unfortunately, he can't use elbows right now, but knees as strong as his, this is perfect for him. A little bit of dirty kickboxing.
Yeah.
It's in good shape, and this can wear Perlaza down.
He is jamming his knee right now into the left leg of Perlaza, and Perlaza trying to guard that left leg right now so it doesn't take any more damage, and we'll see what that leaves him open to, and if Joseph can get there with it.
And he's looking for a takedown now, Rich. Didn't get it. Now see, almost like an ippon, kind of like a hip toss that the judokas usually make. It was actually pretty good. I was hoping he'd kind of give up on the takedown because he didn't get it, but again, strength on strength right there.
Trying now to get in a position where he can do some pounding, trying to get that right hand and left hand free, as Perlaza right now in guard and holding on against Joseph.
Now, I was going to say earlier that Perlaza, because we don't know much about, well, look, now he's looking for the armbar. He was almost in mission control there. But where we don't know much about Perlaza, but we know about his camp, about the Pettis camp, and what Anthony Pettis' weaknesses are being pushed up against the cage and being basically wrestled up against the cage, which you saw Perlaza didn't have much. But where Anthony's strengths are is off his back. Excellent jiu-jitsu. So we'll see if Perlaza can survive with this barrage of punches that Joseph is throwing right now, but you see his hips are active. He can land a submission. We'll see if that takes its toll in the third round, too.
Flurry of punches brought the crowd to life here at the Monona Terrace. We are through 2 rounds, the third and deciding round next on 57 Sports. Here is round number 2, and maybe where Joseph won the round, and it's when he was able to dig Perlaza into the cage.
Yeah, 2 rounds in the books. I have both rounds for Joseph. This right here is what sealed it for me. Great takedown, great judo toss right there. Even though Perlaza had almost locked in an attempted submission there, it's not going to be enough to really negate the damage that especially was done in the last 10 seconds of this round. Judges love this stuff when they're giving points away.
So now we're heading to round number 3. This is the debut for Brody Joseph. What are the dangers here? If he's won the first 2 rounds, what does he have to be careful of in round number 3?
Knocked out. That's it. The only other thing I would say is possibly a submission, because it did look like Perlaza's hips were decent, but now they're sweaty, a little bit more slippery. It's a little harder to land a submission. Plus, you can tell that Joseph still, at least breath-wise, fatigue-wise, lactic acid-wise, is still in pretty good shape. He's used to fighting a lot of rounds, so I don't see submissions more as a problem as I do maybe getting caught, but at this point, Joseph is looking for the kill.
A barrage of left and right hands, a couple of them landing there by Joseph, who has been very aggressive to start round number 3 right now. The crowd either on the edge of their seats or standing up, and they are in full throat looking to cheer Joseph on in his first fight.
And there it is. Again, good fast hips from Perlaza. Now, not in a ton of danger right now because he still has that right arm in there. But we'll see what Perlaza can do to get that arm out, maybe lock in either a triangle or an arm bar. But this is what you were talking about as far as what could the danger be.
Yeah.
We'll see, because Perlaza's pretty comfortable on his back here.
Absolutely, and Joseph came out very aggressive and very confident here in round number 3, and that might work to Perlaza's advantage.
And that arm is out now, and that triangle is locked in. He's got the left arm across. If Perlaza can pull the head down here,
that's it.
And the fight, it's over.
Out. Eddie Perlaza wins on his back. A wild finish here. Perlaza probably down by 2 rounds, but is able to defeat Brody Joseph, and he did it on his back. And that's, I don't know what it was, almost like a 6th sense in watching this fight. I just thought that Joseph, there was a danger coming in to this 3rd round, and he met that danger right there. Came out very aggressive, looked to finish the fight, and instead ends up getting trapped and ends up losing the fight by submission here in round number 3. Very disappointed, but a very excited Eddie Perlaza, who definitely represented himself and Pettis Martial Arts very well here in the fight tonight against the crowd, which was definitely swayed towards Brody Joseph. It is Perlaza who ends up victorious right there as he was able to get that on and lock in on Brody Joseph. Both fighters now in the middle of the cage. Chris Garrity is up there as well. Let's go to Chris for the official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end of this bout comes at 1 minute, 23 seconds of round number 3 for your winner by triangle choke and still undefeated, Eddie the Showtime Prodigy Perlaza.
Maybe the fight of the night so far right there.
Eddie,
a good
come
one.
on, let's face this camera here. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Eddie. Take your mouthpiece out. You were down 2 rounds to none at that point on the judges' scorecard. There was even judges that gave you 8s in the first 2 rounds. What a comeback. Tell us a little bit about the submission. How were you able to sink it so late in this fight?
Honestly, I was just thinking about my family back in Florida. I moved up here to Wisconsin just to chase the dream. Team Rufus Sports, Team Pettis, and I was just thinking about them. And I know Brody's family and friends were out here and cheering him on. It's kind of hard for me too because, you know, everybody's back home. Nobody came to support, but I'm thinking about them in my mind. And yeah.
Now, we talked about it in the broadcast. You obviously come from the Pettis camp, and Pettis is known for 2 things: great striking, great jiu-jitsu. Now, he had the advantage in the striking, especially in those first 2 rounds, but you showed that Pettis jiu-jitsu worked for you. Fantastic job. What do you see as your next fight?
I don't know, sir. I got to go and think a little bit. I'm just, like, so happy right now.
Well, congratulations. You're still undefeated. Let's give him a big round of applause for a great comeback, folks. Eddie Perlaza.
Perlaza down on all the cards. Some of them 8-point rounds is all he got, but instead he gets the triangle right there and is able to choke out Joseph.
All right,
and
folks,
get
a
the
very
win.